Can you guys hear me? Can somebody say something?
Hello, Kathy.
Okay, all right. I got a new Surface and this is the first time I've Zoomed with it, so wanted to make sure it worked. Thanks.
Is that, does it say Ken Mackay on the top of it?
They had to rip your name off it. And then, of course, Gerald said, doesn't Ken know the pecking order?
Yeah, obviously.
Open up the agenda. All right, it is now 2 o'clock, so we can start. Attendance at the beginning of the meeting is all three of us are here. Call the meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda? Looking at Kevin or EOC. Okay, good. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll do it. That the June 25th, 2020 agenda be adopted as presented.
Okay, thank you. Call for the vote. Okay, that's unanimous. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes if they're okay?
You want me to do that?
Sure.
That the Emergency Management Advisory Committee meeting minutes of June 18th, 2020 be adopted as presented.
Awesome. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Provincial update, Percy.
For the provincial update, at current time, there are 38 states of local emergency. 9 of those are municipal, 29 are First Nation. EOC activations, there are 119 at the current time. 115 are municipal and 4 are provincial. Yesterday, it was announced 44 new cases of COVID in Alberta, and the June 24th COVID rate in Alberta was identified as 179 per 100,000 population. And the national rate is currently at 272 per 100,000 population. In Canada, there's a total of 102,007 confirmed cases. In Alberta, there are 7,825 confirmed cases, and of those, 538 are active cases. In the Edmonton zone, there's a total of 250 active cases. Within St. Albert, there are 2 active cases and 30 recovered cases. And from the provincial relaunch status map, St. Albert is designated as open with no additional measures required and has a rate of cases of 2.9 per 100,000. In the region, both Parkland County and Sherwood Park have 2 active cases, and Stony Plain has 1 active case. And surrounding us, Morinville, Fort Saskatchewan, Spruce Grove, and Sturgeon County all have 0 active cases. The government of Alberta is investing in $10 million of serology studies, and this testing will allow Alberta to estimate the number of people who have previously contracted COVID-19. and it will assist in providing information on how the virus has spread over time. Provincial environmental reporting has been reinstated. Also, the Court of Queen's Bench is scheduling more previously postponed matters. Also in the region, an outbreak was declared at the Edmonton's Misericordia Community Hospital. And that outbreak affects 6 patients and 2 staff in a single unit. And that's it for the provincial update.
Any questions, Natalie or Ken? Nope. Awesome. Let's move on to your update from EOC.
So for the EOC update, the EOC has been open for 104 days at the current time, and we continue to operate on the same core values: safety of residents and staff, property safety, and environmental safety. The Emergency Operation Center continues to monitor provincial guidance documents. And as mentioned previously, we're monitoring those documents because significant changes have been noted to those documents over time with no change in versioning. We're continuing to share information with regional partners, municipal and provincial contacts. And the information there helps provide contact on St. Albert plans with and where we sit with other municipalities and actually provide different opportunities. Some of the pieces of information that have been gleaned from there include that Alberta Health indicated to us that if a positive case of COVID occurs within a municipal facility, they'll advise municipalities that somebody was COVID positive in one of our facilities through their contract tracers. And they will also work with us as a municipality to ensure that the correct level of response is occurring within our facilities. And also through another meeting, the province is actually providing the City of St. Albert with 50,000 non-medical masks to be distributed through transit starting June 30th. The city's also been working with partners and leaseholders to facilitate their reentry and their relaunch plans and reviewing those as well. Recently supported groups include the BMX Track and Bless Log Cabin, and Log Cabin will be for Bless staff only. Planning and preparations continue on the city reentry strategy. Significant work has occurred on recreational and cultural facility reentry planning. And later in this meeting, we'll be bringing forward some of the cultural facility planning for your review. We also know additional facilities are currently under renovation, and that affects the cultural facility reentry plan. And that is the Community Services Studio and Workshop, which is under renovation until October. We've been continuing with ongoing work with the Chamber of Commerce and internal city stakeholders to ensure the farmers market will remain in its current form at Service Place throughout 2020 when recreational facilities are potentially able to resume. Plans are in place that have a strikes team supporting staff and departments during staff facility reentry as well. We're planning to move the EOC from physically present to a virtual EOC, and those plans are being finalized currently. The virtual EOC, when we move to that form, will continue to monitor the situation and provide additional support as staff re-enter and facilities resume. And that's it for the EOC update.
Okay, so I know the next on our agenda is the cultural facilities reentry, but before we move there, I'm just wondering, is there any updates on specifics to what we discussed last week on the recreational reentry, or do we need to get through the June 29th council meeting for the financial stuff?
Yeah, we should go through the June 29th meeting, Mayor.
Okay, all right, so no changes there, just as of now. All right. Natalie or Ken?
You took my question. That's great.
Okay. All right, let's go down to cultural facilities, and I see Kelly there.
We're gonna share a presentation with you here. Can you see that there on your side?
Yep.
Perfect. So really today we're here to present cultural facilities reopening plan. And with us, Kelly Jarrett, Director of Community Services here, also Diane McMorty from Finance, as well as other members of the EOC to assist with some of the specifics. And in this presentation, what we will do is provide some background information, provide an overview of the public facility plan, the cultural facility reentry and reopening plan, including an overview of leaseholders and then specific details related to the Arden Theatre. And that's where we'll be going through this presentation. The next slide here. This is kind of a brief overview of the actions that have led us to the presentation of the cultural facilities reopening plan. Cultural facilities were closed because of COVID-19 on March 13th. The provincial relaunch plan was announced with stage 1 beginning on May 14th. At that time, museums, art galleries, and retail operations were included in stage 1. Performing arts centers, studios, and libraries were included in stage 2. On June 19th, the stage 2 launch was announced to begin June 12th, and guiding documents for theaters were made available on June 9th, including restrictions on participant numbers, attendees, types of performances, and instructional activities that can be offered in person. Those guidelines included several recommendations to offer programming and instruction through alternative delivery methods. On June 11th, the Emergency Advisory Committee met and guiding principles were shared that were endorsed that have been used in the creation of a facilities plan, which we are presenting today. And these guiding principles are: outdoor facilities will be prioritized over indoor to the extent feasible. Facilities will be brought back when they are ready using cost recovery to the extent possible. Identifying what regional partners are doing and consider the impacts of our decisions. Where possible, reprioritize openings to meet the demand of user groups. Understanding impacts to service levels and resource capacity through the organization are considered, and that organizational risk and responsibilities will also be considered. This next slide is the public facility reentry plan. This is the plan that this has been made public and is updated on a regular basis. It identifies city and community partner facility timelines and stages for reentry. It's important to note that administration continues to work to support those partners and leaseholders in their reopening in alignment with provincial guidelines. As can be observed, cultural partners such as the Musie Heritage Museum and the Art Gallery of St. Albert are already open. This next slide is a combination of work and effort from community services and the Emergency Operations Center staff. And it's a phased plan for reopening of cultural facilities. A number of additional factors were looked at in this plan development, and that was consideration of staff that need to be recalled either from layoff or redeployments and the impacts of those on existing service delivery. Also required facility COVID-19 health and safety modifications, as well as existing grant funding available to support operations and programming, and further clarity associated with the provincial guidelines. The phased approach to reopening allows for the city to be responsive to provincial changes and COVID-19 developments and to fully gain understanding of what those provincial guidelines mean. Some of the goals are to limit risk to the organization by planning, reopening, and around options that allows for programming resilience and maximize the return on investment in these areas. The plan itself outlines the following timelines for reopening of cultural facilities. A number of partner and leaseholder facilities are currently open, and that includes the food bank and community arts and heritage foundation, operated the museum, the art gallery of St. Albert, the Grain Elevator Park, and St. Albert Place Visual Arts Studios for education and recreational arts programming. Visual Arts Studio Association of St. Albert at Hemingway is also open for member use. The remaining facilities in green are approved for reopening or anticipated to open with modification in the coming weeks. Visual Arts Studio Association of St. Albert and St. Albert Place Visual Arts Committee have been approved to reopen wares in St. Albert Place. Guild leaseholder organizations such as St. Albert Library, St. Albert's Seniors Association, and Cultural Connections are being worked with. The St. Albert Place lobby and bookings will align with public reopening of St. Albert Place, with no indoor lobby event bookings being accepted prior to October 1st. While you look at the diagram here, parts of the Arden Theatre have been identified in blue, and we would look at this as being things that can occur at this time with phased reentry, which are also in gray as well, which would be the phase 2 and phase 3 of this plan, which need a little bit of time to deal with the financial components and bring that piece to council on July 6th for presentation at that point in time. When we look at the blue category, there are programming that are within existing programming dollars that can be reopened under that information, and we'll be presenting more information on that further in this presentation as well. And we're going to move to the next slide with a little bit of background on the Arden Theatre use. Over the last several years, the Arden Theatre has hosted on average 285 events, In 2018, the Arden Theatre welcomed 12,081 attendees, and the average fill rate for performing art program over the last 7 years has exceeded 87%, with summer classes frequently running over capacity. With the Arden, the existing performances and bookings at the Arden Theatre have been canceled until December 31st, 2020. And this was in response to COVID and understanding of seating capacities and spacing requirements that were anticipated to be in line with Alberta health guidelines and expected reduced seating. This has provided the cultural facilities to have flexibility to reschedule performances with a reduced capacity to facilitate safe operation and also maintain some services for the community. As the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic on March 11th, this has led to closure of public spaces and cancellations of events around the world, causing stress on all the arts and cultural sector, including the cancellation of Arden programming as previously discussed. Municipalities like St. Albert have anchored arts and culture as key industries and provided ongoing access to arts and cultural events, and have recognized that as a key attraction for people to choose to live, build, and work within this community, St. Albert. Surveys by Environics and the Strategic Council have identified that 87% of Canadians feel that live performances spaces in their community contribute to quality of life, as you can see there. Also, 88% believe that performing arts are an important economic driver and encourage tourism. 95% of Canadians say arts education assists in intellectual development of children, and 88% of Canadians believe that youth engagement with arts helps reduce youth crime and alienation. Right now, we're in a changing world with COVID. While Alberta Health Services guidelines remain, Community Services anticipates the need for providing programming through blended delivery. And blended delivery, what that means and what it is will be discussed here. This is programming, including but not limited to live performances, rental, and instructional classes with some measure of online delivery. In-person programming with limits on those able to attend in person at any given time, and those are per the physical distancing and mass gathering restrictions, place challenges for programming. So this blended programming is essentially programming being offered both online and in person, and as much as possible and where safe and suitable, in-person programming is to be prioritized. One of the challenges noted is that St. Albert is known for a strong musical theater programming, which in the COVID environment requires a different methods of delivery. This blended method of delivery has emerged during COVID and is being utilized for programming and events by other communities such as Fort Saskatchewan, Spruce Grove, and Leduc. Partner organizations like the Arts and Heritage Foundation and St. Albert Public Library are using blended programming as part of their program delivery. One of the things we would like to do here is discuss this blended delivery method and understand your thoughts about this, the blended delivery method. Because what we are recommending as administration is the use of a blended delivery model as a method of delivery of cultural programming, and to be used in financial forecasts to be brought back to council next on the July 6th date with the rest of the facility entry plan. Also, when we look at the Arden Theater Phase 1, you can see from this document there is one X on the guiding principles, and that is outdoor facilities being prioritized over indoors to the extent feasible. And that is simply because the Arden is an indoor facility and programming would be delivered indoor. So for this, the Phase 1 of our reentry of the Arden is planned to assist with the temporary relocation of programming from the community services studios and workshop to the Arden Theater while planned capital work there is completed. The facility will have modified service delivery that's outlined in Culture's plan, and will have all the required health and safety modifications and all COVID operational practices in place prior to the opening date. In order to operate this programming starting in September, some casual staff may be recalled, and costs associated with recalled employees would be entirely recouped through instructional fees. Returning program to the Arden Theater provides an opportunity to generate revenue, allows redeploy technical staff to remain with Public Works until August, which supports the corporate facility and staff re-entry plans. And it also allows time to retrain staff on the new safe operating procedures associated with COVID. The Arden Theater is also traditionally closed for maintenance and cleaning throughout August. So the reopening in this timeline aligns with operational practice. So what we would like to discuss here as well is administration recommendation that this facility is reopened for Phase 1 commencing September 1st, 2020 within an approved operating budget of $64,400. These costs exclude non-variable costs for facility operations such as insurance and utilities, and revised forecast with revised revenue and expenses result in break even or a net credit based on the COVID changes that need to be in place. And that with that, we'll return here and take questions and discussion around those points we've talked about here.
All right. You said you were working with the Seniors Association at Red Whittle Place. How close are they to opening?
We've been working with them through EOC and have been working with them on helping them facilitate their reopening strategy and what safety practices they might put in place. So as soon as they have their material ready and their plans in place, that they will be able to move forward. But I think they were being cautious and moving slowly there. So I don't have a specific date, but we can certainly follow up.
No, it's okay. I've had a few questions that people, some of the regulars are eager to get back.
We have not received a plan from them at this point.
Thanks. Okay, Natalie, Ken?
Yeah, I've got, I guess, just really quick comments. I have no concerns about the kind of partner organizations that are running some of our buildings. So kind of when they're ready, great. Kind of whenever that's appropriate to happen. It sounds like the feedback that admin is looking for today is just thoughts about the Arden. So whether we can open it, cost recovery, and whether we're supportive of whatever programs if they're cost recovery. Is that kind of the two questions that are being asked?
I don't know that we're looking for a decision for these particular ones. Like again, anything to the left of the yellow line, as per last week's presentation, are kind of in that operational realm. There's not any budget impacts. So I guess we would be seeking more advice or input or pulse of the community type stuff, I guess, from the EAC members.
I mean, I guess in terms of programming, I mean, if it's something the community wants, it's not being offered somewhere else. I have no opinion. Great. We can run that. It can pay for itself. I guess that's my only comment on that.
Ditto. I mean, I view programming as operational, and I see. I mean, obviously, like you said, about 24%, 25%. So I mean, instructional classes. I mean, that's really. I leave it up to you to determine how that's best delivered. So no, I support it. If it can be done and it can be done properly and safely, then why wouldn't we move it forward? One of the questions I might have, and I might need to go in camera, is relation to some of our leaseholders, and many of these partner and leaseholder operated agencies that we've listed here depended upon the delivery of programming to provide revenue. And they're in a fairly big fiscal crunch, just like the city. And I know they took advantage of programming where they could, and they've also taken advantage of the city involved, like deferring utility payments and all that. But I'm just, maybe there's a question to be wondering about, are we, and this might come in our financial scenarios in either next week or in July, around maybe some of the impacts around businesses asking for forgiveness on some of their utility payments over that period of time. I'm not sure if that's a question that can be answered until after the impacts are noted, though. Maybe just something to be aware of. Obviously I didn't strike any big nerves there.
Well, no, I think, I guess if you had specific questions about a specific leaseholder, I'll defer to David, but I would presume that would be an in-camera type question. We are, sending a slot memo to all of council about the utility deferrals, which of course expire on June 30th. So you'll be seeing something coming shortly on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. David, if I was to ask some specifics, would that be an in-camera conversation? Probably, eh?
Well, I haven't heard your question yet, so.
Well, it was just in relation to a particular leaseholder asking for forgiveness on utility payments just because of the crunch they were into. So
I don't think that's an EAC.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. My point being is also, I'm just saying it's probably more for council next week or July 6th.
Okay. And you asked for the pulse of the community. To tell you the truth, when the Arden announced they were closing till December 31st, I didn't hear a peep from the community about that. I think they accepted that, and so anything you can do to get some rentals and do some limited programming, I think the community would be supportive of. But I'm not hearing a huge amount of pressure for it. Not nearly the same as the pressure for the spray park and the outdoor pool and those kind of things. Yeah, people are very understanding of the reasons for the culture facilities, I think. So that's the pulse that I can give you. I don't know if Natalie or Ken has a different feeling from social media or talking to neighbors and friends, but I think this is a good plan.
Yeah, I've I can't disagree with what you said for sure. But I think it's just as important.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just, so what's in front of us, I'm not saying accelerate or slow down or anything, just go with the plan. All right. Anything else? Wow. That was pretty simple.
Percy, maybe you can stop sharing your screen there, please.
Okay. And so we need to go on camera today? All right, and we don't have it. Do you need a motion to endorse those principles? The same, similar to what we did for recreation?
We assumed that when you endorsed that, it was for both facilities in terms of things. If that's and that's kind of how this was formulated
Okay.
and brought forward.
I can't remember what the motion was, but I think it said follow these principles on facilities, not specifically rec. So it would, okay.
I think
Now-
I don't know if I'm challenging or channeling Mr. LaFleur, but I think that we didn't actually give any kind of direction. Ken's nodding, so I remember correctly.
I was looking at the minutes here, Counselor. I don't see any direction.
No,
the
Yeah.
last
no, we
time.
didn't give any direction. So
No,
we
not
just
the
heard.
last meeting. I was thinking the one before when you guys, that I couldn't attend.
Yeah, no. We just heard what the plan was and said, okay, thank you, and that's it.
Okay. We're gonna adjourn then. Unless there's anything else.
Did we want to go in camera for a single item there, Kevin?
One specific recreation facility.
Yes.
We could, I guess, if the EAC wants to. It'll be summarized in the council report coming forward for the 29th. But if you wanted to have a pre-discussion on that, I guess that would be okay. If Mr. LaFleur is okay with that.
I don't even know what we're going in camera for, so I can't vote if I know what we're talking about.
Fair. I don't know, David, is that worthwhile to have that in camera discussion, do you think?
Is there some urgency before Monday that we need this?
I don't believe so, no.
Well, based on my knowledge, I would not call it urgent.
Okay.
Percy, in agreement with that it could wait till Monday?
Yes, it can wait till Monday.
Okay.
Now I'm really curious what it is, but I can wait.
We could tell you, but we'd have to kill you.
I guess so. All right. Meeting adjourned. That was fast.
Great, thank you.